Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Big DK Energy Podcast. My name is Danny K, or the DK in the Big DK Energy. And today's topic is literature and autism. Today's guest hails all the way from the land of Nihon, or as we know it as Japan, and growing up in Long Island, New York, she eventually made her way down to the DC area, and she is an author documenting her life as a mother of an autistic son. And so today we're here to talk about her life, her parenting skills that she's gained, especially the extra ones that she has raising an autistic child, and more about her book. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming today's guest, Miss Kuri Yasuno.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. And, after reading your book, it seemed kind of eerie because you spoke about you, a Japanese woman, marrying a Jewish guy, having an autistic son, but the cherry on top is the fact that his name is Daniel.
Right.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is too much of a coincidence. This can't be happening.
I know. It's so amazing that there's so many similarities here. And thank you for having an interest in the book and talking about it with me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially since one fact that I know is that autism is not really known about in Korea. My mom was not very receptive to the idea that I was autistic because she did come from rural Korea. And so I'm just really happy that you've kind of embraced Daniel for who he is and, have done everything you could to help him in his youth,
Yeah.
even now.
So the title, Autism with a Side of Sushi, is when I first came to the States and I was 5 and I didn't speak English and I was weird and I ate different food and all these kids were like, do you eat sushi or something? Raw fish? That's disgusting, gross. Like, ew, how could you possibly do that? And then
Oh, I definitely know.
right? And then today, like kimchi, ew, kimchi, right?
Or a
But then
gimbap. Yeah, you're definitely
or
right, though.
yeah, all of that. But today it's like Korean food. Yay, let's go out for Korean barbecue or sushi. Let's go out for sushi.
So,
And
so I'm sorry. It's kind of weird to say, but it's kind of in to be Korean and Japanese right now in America.
right, yeah, right. Like it's like being embraced, and all of the anime and all of like the stuff is really becoming mainstream. And so the goal and like the reason why I called it Autism with a Side of Sushi is, my hope and my dream is that one day the idea of autism and being autistic and being on the spectrum is considered like completely normalized, just like sushi. People appreciate sushi, good sushi, casual sushi, sushi at the food court.
I've done all you can eat.
Right, all you can eat, or the kaiten and the rotating sushi, all that stuff. Like it's been just completely absorbed into the culture, right? So my hope in writing the book was to have autism be accepted just like that, like just being absorbed into the culture, not a big thing. It's like somebody has brown eyes, somebody's autistic, my kid's right-handed, oh, my kid's autistic, kind of like that. And that's what it should be because it is so prevalent in society, and it's hopefully the number of kids having autism is on the rise. And so just following that, I'm hoping that the acceptance and understanding and inclusion and awareness catches up to the number of kids that have been diagnosed. So that's my dream.
It's a beautiful dream, and I kind of wish for it as well because, as you know, or as some of my audience know, I'm also on the spectrum. And so people tell me that they wouldn't know if I had autism if I didn't tell them. But then again, at the same time, there are people, that you see like Love on the Spectrum that are kind of, I want to say it like not insultingly, but it's like a certain kind of individual is presented on that show. However, that kind of detracts from the fact that it is an entire spectrum of beings.
Right. So even just the fact that it is a spectrum, like just that information needs to be put out into the universe, right? I feel like people have an understanding of what autism is in their mind. And if you've experienced it or you know somebody that's on the spectrum, you kind of associate that with that person. Just like anything, like if you know like a Russian person, you kind of immediately picture the person that you know, right? I feel like just like anything else, although autism is unique in that it is a complete spectrum, like any new thing, you need to just learn more about it, right? And so, what a great opportunity for the universe to understand that autism isn't just what you think it is. Like there are kids, and I say this as a descriptor, not as an insult or anything, but
Of
like
course.
there are people that are high functioning, low functioning. Some people say impacted. The spectrum means a complete spectrum. And what I find so interesting about autism is that for some kids, it is an invisible disability. And that term is sort of a newer idea that's kind of hopefully, just kind of becoming more well known in that, like, some people you can see that they're autistic, right? They're nonverbal, they have an aid, they need a lot of assistance and self care. But some kids on the other side of that, they're still autistic, but you can't see it. Like maybe you can't, like if somebody meets you, Danny, like it doesn't say anywhere, I'm autistic.
Exactly.
And I think that needs to be more well known, right? And I feel like there's a lot of stories of people that are like, your kid's not autistic. Like, how is he possibly autistic? He doesn't look autistic, and that's a common thing that we parents hear,
Oh, I get it all the time.
right? I couldn't even tell you. And I feel like just because you can't see it, it doesn't mean that kids, people, humans, adults are not struggling. And I think that it's worth mentioning that a lot of people mask, which is another term of art, which I don't know if people know. Masking is when you try to behave in a way that makes you appear less quirky or different.
I sometimes
And
feel like I do that constantly because that's not who I've come to be. This is just, I don't know, I've been in enough social situations to know appropriate actions.
right, right. And that's great in terms of like the current
Yeah.
society in which we live in, right? Like you sort of I mean, I have to be nice to be liked. I mean, like I can't run around being a total asshole everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
fair.
you know, so like, there is a certain decorum that one must follow in society, but I feel like it's worth noting that kids that have different abilities, they struggle, and yet some people are masking, and I feel like people should understand that just because one does not look autistic, whatever that might look like, it doesn't mean that they are not going through some stuff. Like everybody's going through stuff, right? But like this is a disability that's invisible. And that's hard, for people that have it, but also on the receiving end of the person that's experiencing some sort of invisible disability. Like, I didn't know, like, how do you react to that? I think it's kind of like newly recognized. And I feel like people should talk about it. And so people should be more aware about it.
Yeah, I agree as well. It's kind of interesting how you said that just because some people don't appear to have it, they still have it and they have their struggles. It actually reminds me of a time during the pandemic. I went home with my parents and I saw Love on the Spectrum. And so, because my dating life hasn't exactly been the best as compared to some of my other peers, there was this program that they mentioned in the show called Peers. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a program originally started at UCLA, but it eventually got me to the ASD Adult Achievement Center. It's in Altamont Springs, and they were conducting the program there. And so from there, it's like I already knew situations on how to ask friends to hang out, but then it kind of solidified it in a way. And then they also like did very detailed but very useful steps needed to ask a person on a date. And so I actually went on 3 dates right after that. So I guess it worked.
That's awesome. Any girlfriends
Not
from
yet.
that?
Not
Not
yet,
yet.
because I've been kind of broken, so therefore I'm trying to get myself back on my feet. And plus, I don't want to take a girl to McDonald's, you know what I mean?
Okay. Well, funny story. I asked my husband to walk me to McDonald's as one of my earlier interactions with him. He said no, by the way, but
Really?
it is what it is.
Well, I might fair, okay, fair. Well, I might take her there after we go out on the town one night, and it's like if we're a little hammered, it's just like, hey, you want to get food? Yeah, McDonald's? Why not?
Well, okay. In my defense, the reason why I wanted to go to McDonald's was we were working late. We worked together, and it was kind of like a sketchy area at the time, so I was scared. He thought I was. He thought McDonald's was like the grossest thing ever. I guess I don't know. So it didn't work out. My first attempt at asking out my husband failed
Dang,
miserably.
you asked him out.
Oh my god, I totally chased him. I was like so into him.
Wow.
He was like, "Oh, no, just kidding."
It's awesome to hear about specifically Jewish and Asian couples because that's the story of my parents. Well, my parents'
Yeah.
story was a little different. See, my dad was stationed over in Korea because he was in the army, and
Okay.
he met my mom at a nightclub because one of his buddies' girlfriends brought out her friends, and so they spoke, and my dad just clicked with her and was like, yo, I'm gonna marry this girl. And then, like, the next morning, he was moved to where she lived in Seoul.
Oh.
And
Oh,
so
okay.
he looked in every bar and nightclub for like a few days, and then
Oh.
either Wednesday or Thursday, he found her again, and then he went up to her and was like, "Hi, do you remember me?" And she's like, "No."
Oh. Does she speak English or?
She spoke very little English from what I remember, but she spoke enough to at least comprehend what was going on. But unfortunately,
Okay.
she never taught me Korean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
go ahead.
oh no, I mean, Greg doesn't speak Japanese
Got it.
at all.
And your kids don't either, right?
No, my kids don't speak Japanese.
Trust me. Just give them a few more years, and they're gonna be begging you.
Well, it's funny. So Seth, my younger one, who was really good at languages, he'll randomly come up to me and he loves anime, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he'll say these random things to me like, "Omae wa mo shinderu," right? And I'll
Oh my
be
god.
like, and I was like, okay, you know what you're saying there, bud? And he's like, kind. And I was like, yeah, you're already dead.
Yeah.
Thanks, honey. Like, wow, Or like, what's so funny is that like my kids, well, not Daniel, but Seth will be like watching whatever show, and apparently you're not a true anime fan unless you watch it in Japanese with the subtitles.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm a sub guy.
Right. So I'm like driving along, and I'm hearing like, is that Japanese? And he's like, yeah, what do they say? And then I would translate, and he'd be like, you are correct.
It's not like you grew up speaking it or anything like that.
Right. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, and speaking of that, well, kind of connecting the two, is there a Japanese word for autism?
That is an excellent question. Okay. So autism, I haven't been in Japan in so long that I feel like an imposter talking about autism in Japan, right? So I know there's a term, higaisho, but that's like a person that is, in my opinion, again, I'm guessing here, is like very impacted. Because I remember saying to somebody here that Daniel was autistic, and I used that term, and she was like, "No, he's not." So I kind of got this vibe like that wasn't a thing. In Japan, it's not a spectrum. It's like you have to be like this much level 3. Now they have these levels in the DSM, autism 1, 2, and 3, right? So you're not really considered autistic unless you're level 3. It was the impression I got. Again, like no idea. I haven't really lived in Japan,
Yeah, of
like
course.
society for many years. But when I was recently in Japan, somebody had told me that there is a term gray, literally like gray, which refers to like this gray area, this like kind of aspy. Like there's something social cues. There is this spectrum kind of thing going on, but it's a gray area, and I don't know if that's why they call it gray. But that was like a new term that I had heard, and I've been trying to research it since I've been back, which was in December, and I haven't been able to find anything in English that has to do with explaining the usage of this new kind of term. And I don't know if it was like just like a word that this person used or if it was like a society thing, but it would be awesome if this was something that was discussed or was becoming more made aware that there are kids that are stuck. I mean, obviously, there's got to be kids that are spectrum in Japan,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, isn't 1 in like 44 kids autistic?
Okay, I saw something today that said 1 in 36. And then I saw somebody's comment on that saying 1 in 22. I don't know about that.
Okay.
I always say 1 in 50 because I feel like that was a fact.
At some point, yeah. It kind of reminds me of Jewish holidays because it's like, what day is Hanukkah on this year? I don't know. It literally starts a different day every year, and it's annoying.
Yeah, well, and sometimes one year it was over Thanksgiving.
Actually, I do remember that because it was either the first or second night of Hanukkah, Thanksgiving, and my birthday were on the same day.
That's awesome. Like the trifecta. You must have gotten like all the presents that day.
All the presents and all the food, so that, they had to roll me and my gifts to the car.
Oh Oh, nice. That's exciting. Yeah. No, I remember I was really excited that year because I like to get it all done. And everybody was, I think, coming to our house for Thanksgiving. So I just like sent everybody home with their presents. I didn't have to deal with the mail, the post office. It's great. So, I mean, the numbers change, but it is significantly high. And I feel like everybody knows somebody that is spectrum or knows somebody who's spectrum. And I feel like it's now time. And now is a good time. Like, I feel like there is traction with like atypical love on the spectrum,
There's
the
also
incredible Mrs. Wu or
Oh,
something.
I
I
was
haven't
just
seen
about to
that
say
yet.
that.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet, but somebody had told me about that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm super surprised about because I spoke to my friend who's from Colombia and went to go teach English in Korea. She was like, "Yeah, there is no such thing as autism in Korea." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
I mean, and I wonder how these kids deal. Like, I wonder how the people around them, I don't know, handle these kids or these adults. I keep thinking kids because he's my kid,
Listen,
but you know,
if you call me a kid, that's fine because you're my parents' age, and so if they were talking about me, they would say they're a kid too. So of
right.
course,
But like, anybody, like, I wonder how they're reacted to. Like if Daniel was there in Korea and had like a major meltdown tantrum like he used to over something as random as a transition, he didn't want to do the next thing, and some person was witnessing it. I feel so much for the mom in that, or the parent or the caregiver in that scenario, because I mean, I'm sure there's significant judgment passed on. I could just imagine what it would be like if somebody didn't know that autism existed or would give it the time of day. Then they would just assume that all these kids were naughty, or I don't
yeah.
know, when it's not, it's something sensory, or it's just, I feel for people that have to deal with that.
Absolutely. Actually, not that it scared me, but you were talking about an autistic individual in Korea. Well, I was actually watching this kind of news story that happened. And
Mm-hmm.
so turns out there's a good amount of autistic individuals in Korea, which since they don't have a word for it, they're not seen as like children, but they're easily
Mm-hmm.
fooled. And usually some of them are made to do slave work on like salt farms or like seaweed farms. And so one of the guys that had autism was interviewed. And so he was telling us about how he was tricked and like for 2 or 3 years he didn't see his family. But it ended on a good note because it ended with him saying that he was engaged to be married.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's like terrible. I mean, those are like my biggest fears in life, right? Like, I always joke about how I can never die because, like, somebody has to make sure that nobody dupes my kid, or, well, either one of my kids, the
yeah,
one that's,
exactly.
and so it's just terrible what the universe is doing to people.
Absolutely. But that's, I guess, one reason why we gotta make it more aware is so that they can at least be aware of those individuals and hopefully try to get them some help. I mean, Korea's kind of going through a debt crisis right now. But, there's always ways that we could kind of just shed light of what's going on over, here about that. And you're doing that through
Hopefully,
your book.
yeah, and like maybe Asia's the continent where like anime and all that cultural stuff is like where it spreads, but maybe America can spread knowledge about autism, and it's okay, and maybe like in America therapy is a thing, right? And in other countries it's not that much of a thing, and I feel like maybe with the success of cultural understanding of kids on the spectrum in the States, it could spread elsewhere. I don't know,
That's a
but
great
wouldn't
place to
that be?
start. It's,
Yeah, I mean, let's start here first, though, because I'm here.
yeah, exactly. And the best part is we're in two different parts of the country, which means that we can cover more ground.
Yeah, but now is a good time. Like, I feel like there are a lot of books about parents raising kids on the spectrum, and I
Like
feel
you.
like me.
Mm.
Ooh, yes. But you know what I mean? I feel like now people are more open to talking about it. I guess it's just like inevitable, right? If 1 in 40, 50 kids is on the spectrum, then more people are being told their kids are on the spectrum. So it's just like more top of mind, and, it's an issue. But I think we're in a different place than we were even when Daniel was born. And so I think
When was he born, by the way?
2005.
He's a 2000s baby?
Yeah.
That's so
Maybe.
weird to think about.
I mean, for me, it's really weird to think
Okay,
about.
fair. Well, I'm a 90s baby, so that's why.
Yeah. So I'm not even tell you what year I was born. But, so I just hope that the more people hear, the more people learn, the more people start using the word autism, the more it can become part of the
And not used
vocabulary.
as an
And
insult.
oh, right. I mean, who does that, right? And I think because the nation is moving towards this whole, like, well, actually, the younger generation is more woke and is very open to the pronoun shifts and being more hyper aware of what words are being used. I feel like there is a shift in that too. You know, people are hesitant to use like the dreaded R word, which a long time ago when I went to the doctor with Daniel, you know, he said to me, if this was 20 years ago, your son would be labeled mentally retarded.
Yep.
Right? And it was all lumped together, and we're not there anymore, thank goodness. Right? And I think we're shifting from having people assume that because people are on the spectrum, they're not cognitively capable. Like you said, a lot of people are treated kind of babied, and I think there's a shift, hopefully. For example, it's amazing, right? Daniel didn't speak till he was 4, and he has trouble with certain random things. Like he'll say to me, "Hey, mom, how long do you think it's going to take to drive to Paris?" And I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, we're actually never going to drive." But, you know, at the same time, we were going to Hershey, okay, Hershey Park.
In Pennsylvania?
And in Pennsylvania, Daniel loves a good amusement park. And I don't really remember the reasons, but for some reason, he was put in a timeout, like right as we were going into the park, and or a break or a think about it or whatever. Timeouts are triggering, right?
Mm-hmm.
People don't like that word. So he was sitting with Greg, and I was like, all right, listen, I'm going to go and bring Seth into the park because he's not in trouble. And out of nowhere, hanging out with Seth, Daniel shows up. And I was like, what are you doing here? You know, and I call Greg, and Greg's like, yeah, so I can't find Daniel. And I'm like, oh, well, here he is. He just showed up. And he was like, I don't know how he did that. I have the tickets. Like, how did he get into the park? So at all of 7, 6, 7, I don't remember. I said, hey, Daniel, how did you get your way into the park without a ticket? And he said, and I swear, he was like, well, Mama, I found a family that had the same color hair as me, and I just walked right in with them. I mean, brilliant. Like, that's a mastermind for a 6 or 7-year-old. You know what I mean? It's like, I was blown away. I was like, this is a sign of true intelligence.
Yeah, 3 years ago
right?
he couldn't speak, and now he's
Right.
he's now
So,
being a devious mastermind.
right, yes, like Guru, you know, get the moon.
Yeah, but
like,
at least he's a wholesome devious mastermind.
Right, and that was like, yeah, and that was when he was 7, and no longer is he breaking into amusement parks. You know? But like, I just remember thinking, it's so amazing what he can do and what he can't do. He can do so much, and so that is amazing. And yet, at the same time, there are things that he can't do, and some people might want to focus on what he can't do, whereas other people might want to focus on what he can do. And I think that whatever you focus on ends up being the way you're treated, right? Or the way you treat other people. And so
I can agree with that.
Right. So hopefully we can see the problem solving side of kids on the spectrum.
Oh yeah,
rather than the deficits.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, some might have it and some might not. I'm kind of determining where I am, but that's the thing. Just because they don't think of it the way you do, they think of it in another way, but they still get the job done. It's like when you answer a math problem and you did the wrong work, however, you somehow got the right answer. That's kind of like us, and even the nonverbal ones, you know, this is how I kind of describe what's going on in their minds. Not saying that I'm mute or anything like that, or nonverbal. However, it's like if they see a butterfly flying, they notice that a butterfly is flying. They see a car crash, they see it. However, they just can't say, I just saw a car crash. That's how I kind of see it. They just can't convey it, but they know everything that's going on.
Right, and how frustrating that must be. And I think that, like I said, Daniel didn't talk till he was like 4, but he has perfect pitch, and he is able to...
Which I'm so envious of.
Right, everybody is. Don't worry about it. It's like a dime a dozen. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And Daniel's like, whatever. But anyway, so like he was echolalic, and so he was always able to like recite things
Guilty.
and repeat things, right? And the way perfectly, and he could always recreate music, but like the words were hard for him. He still has language processing issues, and you know, conversations are fast. And no matter what you do, no matter how much verbal behavior therapy or like no matter how many speech classes you go to, there's nothing that really prepares you for a real life back and forth conversation.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you can practice every scenario and you never know what I'm going to say.
I mean, one
And
thing. Go
so,
ahead.
yeah. And so, what I was going to say is like, even though he was able to do so much, like music and what singing and playing, he still couldn't get his thoughts and his desires and his wishes out as clearly as he would want, right? And I think that is, one of the major reasons why we had such a hard time behaviorally back then, right? Because like, how frustrating is that? Like exactly like when I came to the States and I wanted to say things, but I couldn't because I didn't speak English.
I'm not laughing
I
at that. I'm
rem-
laughing at something else. Go ahead.
but like I remember wanting to fight with somebody or like tell somebody off, but I couldn't do it in English. And it's like this frustrating feeling of like, I know what I want to say. And I always wanted to be like, if we were in my country, I would kick your ass.
Well, honestly, if you spoke to them in Japanese, they'd probably be really scared because they'd be like, I don't know what you just said, but you're terrifying right now.
But like as a small child, you don't think to do that. So that feeling of not being able to say what I want to say, but knowing what I want to say, I understand that so well. And I feel like that gave me a little bit more of an edge in parenting Daniel because like that was something I experienced until I learned how to speak English, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is my tool to communicate was just learning English. That's all I needed. Daniel can speak English, obviously, right? Because he can talk and all that good stuff. But I still don't know what the specific tool it is that he needs to kind of connect with society. I just needed a language. What does he need? And I think that magic sauce is what everybody is looking for if there's any way to bridge that gap between feeling isolated and feeling connected.
So, weirdly enough, I might actually have a unique way for Daniel to be able to communicate with the outside world. Hear me out.
Okay.
So he loves music, right? So there was this skit between these two like DJ producers, and so they would basically talk to each other, but through the recorded messages that were on their touchpad. So, for example, one guy would be on the couch, and then the other guy would be like, "Bruh, toilet paper now," and then the other one would be like, "Nah, bruh, ha 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 ha," and all that other stuff.
Nice. Well, what's interesting is texting. I mean, like, so he is capable of speaking and he's capable of having
I think
conversations.
that'd be a
And
funny thing for him to do, though.
yeah, no, I think he would think that was really fun. Texting works because when you text, you can think out your thoughts, you can type it in, you can look at it, you can review it. And I feel like a long time ago, one of his behavioral doctors had told me, like, when you get older, sometimes you might just want to text. And also because when you text with each other with a child, there's less anger, right? It's not like an immediate thing.
Yeah, there's no emotion attached to a text unless you add the emojis, which kind of convey your message.
Right. And also, like, if he says something and I'm super mad, I can stop and not write back. Whereas if it's in the same room and I'm looking at him, I can react and we can have like an explosion.
Yeah, it's a good thing you don't
Right.
use the talk to text thing, because otherwise it'd probably be like a paragraph, just like.
Right. Right. So you can censor yourself that way. And I think tips like that are very helpful. So I know that group chats and group texts are really easy for him because it's texting. And so that's how he like communicates with his friends and makes plans. And that's fantastic. But, until you get a phone and, until you are at that age, like, I mean, I can't imagine like 5-year-olds doing that. But I think now it's easier this way. So
Okay.
I'm glad that, there are certain vehicles and certain tools that make this a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Sorry about laughing before. I wasn't laughing at you not being able to speak English. The way you were describing it describes an exact skit that I watched of this entire Korean family, but they were like, we must practice English. So for 1 hour, we will not speak any Korean. And so, it shows them all at dinner, and they were like, oh, I want the kimchi. And then he was like, huh, huh, actually, I have another question. Do Japanese people also give certain grunts in order to convey messages rather than
Oh,
say an
yeah.
actual word? Okay, I'm just making sure. I don't know if that was a Korean specific thing or if that's kind of just an Asian thing in general.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So I don't know about Korean, but Japanese people, like, we love onomatopoeias. Do you guys do that?
I
Like
don't know about
random.
onomatopoeias per se, but we do like to be very animated when we talk, is one thing.
Okay. So
Wait, I don't know
in
why I
J
said we. I don't speak any Korean. Go ahead.
so in Japanese, like everything has an like a sound. Like for example, if you're moving paper around, okay, like that would be like pita pita, like all right, or like when you have like hair that's like moving, or I don't know, fine hair, it's like sara sara. I don't know, like so every it's bizarre, but there's a lot of onomatopoeias in Japanese, which we don't have in English.
Hmm.
But then also the sound for yes is boom. But like you can use that to mean so many different things,
Okay,
and
that's
I
what I
think
was
that's what
meaning
you're
before.
talking about. Like also like can mean many different things.
I guess it's kind of like Chinese, where it's, or Mandarin specifically. I don't know if it's the other five dialects do this too, but it's very tonal because you can be like eh, eh.
Yeah, but that's also the same in English too, right? Like right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Although I guess in Asia we do it with more than just
Yeah,
right? Like we do it with height, which is yes.
yeah. That, or at least that's what I've been learning on Duolingo. So yeah,
Yeah. So
I
it's a complicated, nuanced language, I think.
yeah. I mean, you have three different alphabets.
Yeah, that's fun. But that's not anything compared to Chinese, which is like all those characters, and Korean, which has all those I don't even know how
So
many. They're like limitless.
Korean is actually very easy to read. It's like they have four words to describe the exact same thing. And also, like, based on, whether you're going, you say this, or if you're the one staying and they're going, you say that. And there's just so many different rules and layers applied to everything. Oh man, I really gotta sit down and do this. But
Do
yeah.
you want to learn how to speak Korean?
I do, because I kind of feel guilty for not doing so. Of course, my mom never taught me, but it wasn't until after my harmony, my grandma, died during COVID. I don't know if she died of COVID per se, but when I went to go see them right after I graduated college, I saw my grandmother first time in 20 years, and I couldn't speak any Korean to her, and I just felt really bad. And so I guess now I feel in order for me to become a better family guy to my Korean side, I got to be able to speak their language. And so I'm kind of just embracing it and trying to see what I can learn along the way.
That's fantastic. I mean, Seth's trying to learn Japanese through watching anime.
It's at least it's a good start.
Yeah, and telling me I'm gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
You're already dead.
yeah, well, he's embracing his culture, I guess. Which so I know kimonos is native Japanese dress, but is that specifically for women? Like, what do guys call it, or what do guys
So
wear?
when women wore kimono, men also wore kimono,
Okay.
but women different patterns. I feel
Mm,
like men's and different shapes. For example,
different
a
cuts.
woman, a little bit like a girl before marriage would wear a kimono with really long sleeves that go all the way down to the ground because they don't have to do like housework. They're not married. Once you get married or become, yeah, I think married, maybe a woman, I don't know. The sleeves become shorter,
Mm.
but the men wore kimonos, just not as ornate, very simple.
So in Korea, when you're 100 days old, it's a big celebration, and so you get dressed in hanbok, the traditional Korean wear. And I
Yep.
saw the picture of Seth and Daniel wearing traditional Japanese wear. What is that dress called? Not dress, but article of clothing, if you will.
That is Chinese.
Is
That
it?
is Chinese. Yes. Because Greg, my husband, went on a business trip to China.
Oh,
So
okay, got it.
he had gotten the little outfits, and so I just put them on them and took a picture because he brought it back. But yeah, no, that is Chinese. So I don't know what that's called.
Okay, never mind. Have Daniel and Seth ever wore kimono?
No,
Oh wow,
no,
have they
they
ever
have not.
been to Japan?
No, they have not. They're
Mm.
just not Japan ready.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Well, also because of the food issues, and
Oh
Seth
yeah.
doesn't like to
He
fly,
doesn't.
and
Yeah, Daniel doesn't like rice. What kind of Asian doesn't like rice?
a very unique Asian that doesn't like rice. It's hard
There
to
we
find a
go.
person that doesn't like rice.
Fantastic answer. Very unique individual that does not like rice.
Yeah, I mean, I live on rice,
I was gonna
but
say, like, if Daniel was a part of my family, I'd be like, sweet, more rice for me. Konnichiwa,
yeah.
Dan.
Oh my God. When I was growing up, it was so funny. All of my friends loved coming to my house because Americans, I don't know what kind of rice they have at their house, but it's not the sticky rice that we have in our rice cooker. It's like all my friends would like immediately run to my kitchen and have a bowl of sticky rice, or Kori's Japanese rice. And to me, like, I just thought that was so funny because this is something I eat every day. But now I kind of get it. And Seth is really funny because he loves rice. So he can now tell like different rice. So I spoil my kids, obviously. And so I always get like the super yummy, expensive Japanese rice at the Japanese store. But like
Mm-hmm.
when we run out, I'll go and get like the Cal Rose from like the supermarket. And he'll know. He'll be like, Mama, what's going on with this rice? And I'm like, oh my God, how do you know? I mean, I know because I know, but like I
Yeah.
didn't think he would know.
I guess he's
So now, yeah,
might be a super
he's a
tester
connoisseur.
or taster. I think that's what it's called.
Super taster. Yeah, of rice. Other things, I don't know if he would taste anything because he doesn't really like that
Okay.
much food.
I guess it's a good thing to be specialized in. It's kind of like tasting different types of water. Like when I drink Dasani versus regular tap water.
So many people say that. So many people can identify Dasani water
That and
from all
Aquafina.
the other water. Really, I can't. Like I don't have a subtle palate like that. Water is water. So many people have said that about Dasani. It must taste different.
Yeah, well, like for example, the few times that I have been to Disney, when I needed water, all they sold was Dasani. I'm just like, well, I'm not gonna thirst by sticking it to the mouse. I'm thirsty, god dang it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you don't like Dasani?
Nope.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I mean, I could definitely tell the difference between tap water and bottled water, but that's about where it ends.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
So, what traditionally Japanese foods do your children like?
Okay, so Daniel doesn't like anything, so that's out. Seth will eat rice and salmon, and he doesn't really even like sushi that much, but he will eat it all separately. Like he'll eat rice, he'll eat salmon. In fact, that's what I made him for dinner tonight.
Has he ever had onigiri?
Oh yes, he loves onigiri. That is like one of his favorites with salmon.
Nice.
Yes, and without the seaweed.
Okay.
Which is funny to me, but whatever.
And
So yeah.
Seaweed is nori, right?
Yep, with nori. So I don't when I make the onigiri, I don't use the seaweed for Seth, but I'll do it for Greg.
Huh.
My husband will eat anything Japanese. He
Nice.
like as long as it's food, he'll eat it. He's like everything, he'll eat whatever, which is great. But yeah, so Seth won't. He doesn't like the seaweed, but onigiri close enough.
I know Danny likes eggs, so do you think you'll ever master omurice?
Do I think I'll master making it, or do you think he'll master eating it?
Both, I guess.
Okay, so I know how to make omurice.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's like a little varsity. There's egg, there's rice.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's the
Sometimes
rice.
There's ketchup. Like it's a lot of flavors. We don't do that. We only have like 5 things we eat, so you're going like way.
Okay, got it.
Varsity there.
I just put egg and egg together, and that was my result.
Like, we're not even eating sunny side up. We're just scrambled eggs, like just scrambled. No wet, no dry, no brown, no different than the day before.
Wow. So Daniel kind of has that palate for his stuff too. I bet.
Oh yes. So and I have to make it, and apparently like he has to tell me when it's okay to start making it, and he usually like watches me make it. Like if Greg makes it, it's not good. That's like not allowed near his eggs, right? I have actually on occasion, so my friend has chickens and she'll give me eggs.
Oh, that's nice. That's kind of cluck right now.
Yeah. And the homegrown eggs, right? The chicken laid eggs, sometimes they're like a little bit more orange. The yolk can be sometimes a different color. And although it's like so fresh and delicious, I can't give those to Daniel because now they're not the same. So I'm like, I have these fresh eggs and they're so great. But sorry, dude. He's like, I'll take the Costco eggs, I'm like, okay.
Hey, whatever makes him happy, I guess. But yeah, you mentioned all this in your book, and so one thing that I want to kind of tie back to was being an author ever an idea in your mind?
So never, ever. I thought I would sooner be like an opera star than an author, right? Like, first of all, I'm like never serious. My goal in life is to mess with Seth. Like that is like all I do, and I like to mess with Daniel to the extent that it's kind.
Yeah, of course.
with Seth, it's like no holds bar. And he hates me, but that's okay. Yeah. So no, I met this woman a long time ago, and she had written a book with her father. Her father was a NBC anchor, news person, personality, and so she co-authored this book. And she told me that she wrote this book, and I was like, oh my god. Like, you are a god among us mere mortals. Like, this is amazing. And she's like, no. She then went and wrote a couple of more books, but then changed genres. So now she writes books for children, or not kids books, but, like maybe elementary school books.
Okay.
Super cool. And I couldn't believe that this was a thing, like, how does a person write a book? And then I had another friend write a book. Now, 10 years later, I have another friend and she wrote a book. These people writing books, like, how are they doing this? And then it was COVID and I was bored. And, before COVID, I would drive 5 hours a day because both the kids went to different private schools. So it was like a lot of driving and would get stuck in traffic and I would be in the car for like 5 hours. So I was really like, I had all these audiobooks and all these, podcasts. But then when COVID hit, I had 5 extra hours in my life. Like, I didn't even know what to do with myself. It was so crazy. And then my girlfriend was like, I wrote a book. And I was like, you wrote a book? And she said, you could write a book. And I was like, no, I can't write a book. Anyway, so then I'm like, well, maybe I'll write a book. And so I started the book. And it was actually really funny because I wanted to write like funny book, just like only the funny things that ever happened in my life with Daniel or my life coming to the States. And I just wanted to be like a laugh out loud kind of thing.
I got it. I did that with the book, but that's just because I saw so much of myself in there. I was like, this is a little too scary, but I love it.
Well, I just wanted it to be really funny because I think humor makes it relatable, right? Like
I
when
agree.
I tell, right? So like when you laugh together about something, you laugh because right? Like, when you drink a Snapple and your like lips get all stuck in the jar and it's like really uncomfortable and you're like pulling it out. You
Yep.
laugh about that because like you know exactly what that feels like, right? So I wanted to write a funny book because I felt like people could laugh about the situations that I went through, not laugh at me, but with me. It's relatable. And then once it's relatable, you absorb it. And I feel like that's an easy way for awareness. So I had all these like funny anecdotes and that's how it all started. But then I also started writing about other things and I'm like, well, that part's not really that funny. Ooh,
True,
getting that diagnosis, that wasn't that funny either.
but it's
So
important.
then it turned into like a memoir, instead of just the funny things. And I think some of it is still kind of funny. And then,
Absolutely, I think so, or at least
yeah,
that's what I got. That's impression. I mean, even autism with a side of sushi. That's a bit of a chuckle. Like, oh, what's this about? This
yeah,
is
like what is
piqued
that
my.
about?
This has piqued my fancy.
Yeah. And then Daniel, oh my God, he was so funny. He was like, first, I was like, listen, I'm going to write this book about autism. And I feel like maybe if I write it, more people will learn about autism and then they'll be like nicer. And he was like, okay, if people are going to be nicer, then you can write the book. So I wrote this book, the whole thing. And then I don't even know. Oh, I know what happened. Oh, this is a little embarrassing. This all goes back to my horrible parenting style. So Daniel, Seth, and I were sitting in the kitchen, and I don't know. Daniel was giving me a hard time, and I think like the gist of it was like, if you're gonna ask somebody to do something for you, you have to ask nicely. Don't be a jerk about it, or else you're already gonna get an answer that's no or something. I don't know. And
Exactly.
it was a conversation I've had many, many times. And so Greg came down and was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Oh, I'm having this fight with Daniel," and he was like, "Core, instead of writing a book about Daniel and autism, you should write Autism the Musical." Okay. And I was like, oh my God, that's the best idea ever. Right. So, like, a normal person would have been like, ha ha ha. But then I took it a step further and I started like making up songs and like singing about all like the difficult times we've had with my friend Daniel and autism and singing it on top of my lungs. And then Seth was there feeding fuel to the fire, being like, well, remember when this happened? And then I was singing about that. And then remember when that happened? I was singing about that. And Daniel shows up from like the side and he was like, I heard you. I know what you're doing. And you can't make up songs about me like that. And again, a normal mom would have been like, you're right. This is wrong. I should stop. And, but instead I was like, enter stage left, autistic boy having a temper tantrum. I'm just a bad person,
That's
right?
actually something I would say too. So don't feel bad.
I mean, but like, you're not the mom. Like, it's just,
As you know, from autistic people, we're very blunt with our observations as well. So if anything, that's something that worked in your favor in this case.
Well, he was like, I can't believe you're doing this. You're ruining my life. And I was like, okay, well, you're just giving me more material for the book. And he was like, what?
Nice.
And I was like, well, I'll just add this to the, chapter about temper tantrums or whatever.
Mom, you can't say this thing about me.
Right.
And
And he's like,
scene.
right, exactly. End scene, cut to black. So he was like, wait, what? And I said, well, it's a book about autism, like the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I have everything. I told you about it. And he was like, oh no, you can't write that. And I was like, wait, what? So I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, first of all, you're ruining my life by singing about me and making me into a musical. So I'm going to ruin your life and tell you you can't write this book anymore. And I was like, did you just cancel my book?
Oh man, the harsh critic.
Yeah, I was like, I think you just canceled my book. And so, like, it was real. Like, I was like, I had just got this note from my editor being like, great, we're almost done. And then Daniel was like, no, like, you cannot publish this. So I had to text my editor and I was like, we need a pause. Like, this is a moment here. And she was like, oh, what about if you change the name? And, and I said, okay, let me toss that out there. And I was like, hey, what if we change it? And he's like, no, I don't want any of my stories out there. It's like not allowed. I just spent, I don't know, a bunch of time writing this book. And it's like almost ready to go. And you just canceled it. And now I really don't know what to do about this situation. Because at the end of the day, it's my life story, but it's also his, right? So if he doesn't want it out there, I mean, it's his story too. So it's okay, we're done. We're not doing it. And then, after we calmed down and I stopped making the musical and stopped being a jerk and I like matured a little bit, went to our corners, we came back a couple days later. I was like, listen, what is it that you are actually not happy about? And he said, well, I don't want you to write about my tantrums and I don't want you to write about the other thing. There's certain things.
Yeah, of course.
Said, okay, what if we go through each chapter, we talk about what's in it, because I didn't think he was going to read it. And I said, let's pull out anything you don't want me to write about. So we did. And then I had to rewrite like the second half of the book, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But then he finally approved it and it was done. But yeah, so I didn't know all that was going to happen. But at the end of the day, it was COVID and I had nothing else going on. So it was good and it was a fun project. And I actually can't even believe that it happened because a lot of people start writing books and they don't finish it. So I was really excited, even though Daniel is like, I can't believe you wrote a book about it. Oh.
He'll appreciate when he's older. He's, how old is he now?
He's 17.
I didn't start appreciating my parents until mid-20s, so he's still got some time.
Okay, good. I like that. All right.
So, that's a little optimism there. But Kuri, you're such an awesome individual. The beauty that is your story as well as your son's in this book, it's amazing. And so I'm so glad we got to find out more about you. But now we're about to go into my favorite part of any big DK Energy episode, which is the bonus question round. 10 questions that... Oh, yeah, you should be, because it's 10 questions that you do not know about, however, are still appropriate enough that you'll still have an audience. So, Miss Yasuno, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, excellent. Well, all I can say is ganbatte. I'm just kidding. You'll be fine. Question number 1. Okay. You're being paid to be a Japanese tour guide for 3 of your favorite big names, celebrities, authors, personalities, etc. Who are they, and what are 4 places you must visit on this tour in Japan?
Okay, Bruno Mars.
Ooh.
Because he's from Hawaii. He writes great songs.
Very talented artist.
That's 1. And so, can they be not alive anymore?
2 alive, 1 dead.
2 alive, 1 dead. Okay. Helen Keller's mom.
Okay, interesting choice.
Well, because she's amazing. I need to talk to her and find out how she persevered and how she.
Okay, fair. Good point.
Right, amazing person. Gosh, who could be my 3rd person? I don't know. Some rapper that Seth likes so that he can meet him. That I don't know.
Okay.
This is a lot.
Okay. Oh, that's so that's so sweet. And what are the 4 places that you are gonna go for?
Okay, in Japan, 4 places we're gonna go in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 1, we would have to go to a 100 yen shop, the 100 yen shop, because they're amazing. And if you go to Japan, you have to go check them out because they're so fun and they have everything and it's great. 2, we would have to go to a ramen shop because
nice.
Ramen is life.
One of my goals is to get ramen from a cart that's being pulled by a 90-year-old man.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, that is a great goal. Let's see. 3, I would like to go to Okinawa only because I've never been to Okinawa and that is amazing. And 4, maybe Hokkaido where there are monkeys in the hot water springs where we can bathe with monkeys. I always see that in TV.
Yeah, Hokkaido is the island in the north, right?
Yeah, but I always feel there's hot water springs with these in the snow with these snow monkeys.
I think they're called Japanese macaques.
Okay, wouldn't that be cool? And then just sitting in a tub with these 3 and a gender. I don't know. Maybe we're wearing bathing suits.
Of course, yeah.
And then one guy's rapping, and then Bruno Mars is talking to me about his life, and Helen Keller's mom is giving me tips, and then I'd have to bring Seth.
Yeah, exactly. And then also one weird fact I found out about the Japanese macaques is from a show called Stanley. It was a show that it aired in like the early 2000s, but apparently Japanese macaques, they wash their potatoes before eating them, or they wash their
Because
food.
they're
So,
smart.
yeah.
That's good.
Question number 2. Assuming there's no dollar limit, describe your perfect last meal.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat. Oh God, how am I gonna do this? Well, so rice and natto is like my favorite, but for my last meal, I love Italian food. So it would, I don't know, maybe it would be a chef from Italy making me like the perfect bowl of pasta and pizza. Can I have pizza on there too?
You're allowed
My
everything.
favorite. So like I'm allowed everything. Okay, so like a bowl of natto and rice, right? And then I would have like a big old bowl of pasta with whatever. And I don't know if I wanted to go red sauce. I don't know if I want to go. No, I think I'm going to go carbonara. And then I want
Mmm.
a New York pizza and a bagel with butter and bacon.
Oh, I love that. Very Jewish, right?
Very everything. Oh, and ramen. I have to have ramen.
Okay, I was about to say, actually, there's a ramen
Yeah.
place like less than a block away from where I live, so I'm gonna go there after this, actually. So thank you for that.
I'm jealous. We don't have any good ramen here.
Don't worry, I'll say Ida Kamatsu for us both.
Itadakimasu.
That's what I meant. But question number 3: You're doing a book tour for Autism with a Side of Sushi. What are 5 cities you must hit, and who's promoting the book?
I mean, could Bruno Mars sing about my book?
Yeah.
Could I do that?
Mhm.
Who's like a really big name? Whoever could get the word out the farthest. Jordan Peele. How about that? He's really hot right now. That would be kind of cool. And he could be my hype man. 5 cities would be Princeville, Hawaii. Hawaii, because it's awesome there. DC, because I live here, and that would be no travel and easy. New York, because New York. California, so maybe San Francisco or San Clemente, San Francisco, somewhere. Some San in California. And, I guess it would have to be in Orlando, right by Disney World, because Daniel loves Disney, and I would have to, give them a shout out.
I'm 30 minutes away from Disney. Question number 4: Dream vacation and itinerary.
So in my previous life, I was a jewelry maker.
Hmm.
And so I would like to go somewhere where I can go into a mine and find actual gem clusters. That would be my dream vacation. Like, I don't even know where. I think there's a couple places in the States where I can do that. Like, there's this place called Herkimer in New York where you can find Herkimer diamonds, which are like quartz.
Oh, that's one of the most unique answers I've ever heard for that question. So thank you for that. So question number 5: What's your favorite Japanese word that doesn't have a direct English translation?
Kechi. Ketchi. Kechi.
Kitschy. How would you describe it then?
Kechi is like a combination of stingy and frugal, but it can be not just about money. It could be about anything. So yeah, Kechi is one of my favorite words.
Well, thank you for expanding my Japanese vocabulary. So, question number 6. What's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received? One piece being for your life in general and for autism specifically.
One piece of advice for autism would be, it's a Brene Brown quote. Basically, my interpretation of that is once you get to know somebody or once you get to know more about something, it's harder to hate it. Right. So, like, even if it's the person that you resented for so long, once you hear their story, you start to give a little. Or in terms of autism, like, once you meet a person that's spectrum, then you can't hate that person. Even if they've wronged you or you feel like they've wronged you, once you know their story and why and their why, then you kind of open your heart up to that person. And I think that if people did that, we would be in a better place. So that's my autism. And in terms of life, well, I guess it would have to be like, if in a fight, hit first and hit hard.
I love that.
Take them down.
Fantastic answer. Actually, it kind of reminds me of my dad when I learned Taekwondo, and he said, if anybody punches you first, you kick the crap out of them. I'm like, okay. I like those pieces of advice. And it's funny because a lot of advice that's like great for autism specifically is great for people in general. So that's one thing that I've noticed. Question number 7. You're creating a music festival for an autistic charity. What specific charity is it, and who are 6 of the performers? And you can't say Bruno Mars. Sorry, it's got to be someone different.
Oh, no. Okay. I think that I would like to donate it or, for the Ernie Els Foundation. He's a golfer with an autistic son. and he built a school for kids that are spectrum. I would love to work with them. They just seem like a great organization, and they have great visibility, and they have no negative associations to it that I know of. Like, for example, if I were to say autism speaks, then people get upset with them because of the blue and the curing autism rather than accepting autism and all the history that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, although like they are a big name and everybody knows about them, I would shy away from that. So I say L's Foundation because I just feel like it's a great group of people, and I mean, he relates, right? Like he is a kid, and we're similar. And artists that would perform. Well, first we'd have to get huge stars to get the most awareness. Oh, I thought you were telling me to hold on.
Oh, no, sorry. No, I was counting. No, this is counting
Okay.
me as one.
All right, but I'm like so not hip, so I don't know who's hot right now. So I guess whoever is like the hot person right now.
It's your answer. Name some artists, and I will tell you if people will attend.
Okay. Whatever the rappers are that Seth listens to, right? Because I don't know who he listens to, but he loves them. So we'd have to get like one or two of those, and then we would have to get maybe like Aerosmith.
People would show up for Aerosmith. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Aerosmith, right? Because Steven Tyler is amazing, and he was bullied. How about like Britney? Because people know Britney, they sympathize with her.
Britney Spears, she's still hot. I feel like her music will always be hot, especially like everything she had to go through. Yeah.
Okay. And then how about somebody that is gonna get the young kids? Like, I don't know, Jonas Brothers? Are they lame? Are they hot?
They wouldn't get the younger crowd, but they would still definitely bring people out, especially a lot of people my age, because then they'd get a bunch of nostalgia.
Okay. So that's good. And whoever is the it girl, the girl that sings that like that license song or driver's license, I don't know.
I'm gonna need a few words in order.
Forget her. I just saw something on like whatever show that I was watching a million years ago. Okay, maybe not. How about Taylor Swift? Because I'm sure she'll bring in a huge.
She's
crowd.
Super hot right now.
Right. Okay,
yeah.
So Tay. Oh, the guy Ed Sheeran.
Oh yeah, he's definitely popular. So yeah,
he'll bring in a crowd, and I don't know. Who else would be there? Michael Jackson's dead.
If you say Michael Jackson, you can bring him back.
I'm going to say Prince.
Okay.
We can bring dead people?
Yeah, well, that's equally a great answer. Are you kidding me? Tickets would be sold out if people heard that Prince came back.
It's less about who, it's more about the reach for me.
Okay, that's fair. And actually, I guess as a guest, we could have, is it Fat Joe? No, yeah, it is Fat Joe, because his son's autistic.
Oh, okay. And that would be amazing.
Well, those are all solid artists that are hot. So, yeah, you're going to get plenty of reach with those. Question number 8. If you could live in the universe of any TV, movie, or book, which would you live in, and what's your role?
I mean, I dream of Genie, and then I could just, make everybody fix everything for everyone. That would be kind of cool.
Simple but effective answer. I respect it. Question number 9. What's one of your favorite things you learned about yourself while being the mother of an autistic individual?
Oh my gosh. That I'm not the best parent, but it's okay. I think what I try to do is like I mess up all the time, but I think my saving grace is that I try to explain my mess ups. Like if I yell, I try to later come back to it and say, listen, that was like the worst reaction I could have had, but I did it and I'm really sorry. And I think it's just that I sometimes kill it as a mom, right? Like I'm there, I have the sandwiches made and everything is ready to go, and we're never late for school. And then some days I mess up entirely and I say the wrong things, and my kid's crying and there's nothing I can do to fix it because I'm yelling and I've lost my temper. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's all good as long as you explain yourself, and I try to not fix it because it's not something to fix, but sort of model that, right? Like this happens and it's okay. Like you don't have to be perfect all the time.
I love that answer. And just by the answer you gave, that just shows how great of a parent you are, because a lot of parents, they don't even recognize the fact that they're messing up, but at least when you did something that you don't think was correct. And so that's...
Enter stage left.
That's fine. You're fine.
That's not nice.
You're doing fantastic, Kuri. Don't sell yourself short.
All right, last question, and these are so good. I love them. I'm so sad it's over.
Yeah, actually, it is sad that we do get to the end of the show, because there is so much more that we could get out of you, but we have such a limited time. So this last question is the same question that I ask everybody. However, the answers always vary, and that is, what is your best, most recent accomplishment? Here, to make things
Um,
easier, you can do one personal and one professional.
okay, great. So professional would be that I will be going to speak at different corporations again to raise awareness. So I'm working with Giant Supermarket.
That's so
Be
awesome.
talking, yeah, to their staff. And I'll be talking at Amgen, which is a pharmaceutical company, and I'm talking at like a PTA for an elementary school and some libraries here. So I think I just love, like I said, just getting the word out, the numbers, just the more people that hear about autism is what I care about. Good or bad, it doesn't even matter. They can hate me, but as long as they talk about it, that's the goal. And then in terms of personal, I'm just going to say I was able to get Seth to a clothing store today and had him try on clothes rather than me running back and forth, buying stuff, having him try it home, trying it on home. I don't like it. I don't like it. Returning.
Yep.
I was able to get him there. I mean, there was a lot of eye rolls and lots of I don't want to do this. But teenage boy in the store for dress clothes, not
Ah,
just
okay.
fun clothes. This was dress clothes. So that for me, whew, that's an accomplishment right there.
I'm 20 and
I can
even
go
I
to
don't like
bed.
doing that.
Yeah, like I could go to bed and be like, I did it today.
As deservedly so.
It was a coup. It was really big. I'm proud.
You should be. And Kuri, you're
Oh,
such
and
a.
we're still talking to each other too.
It's the icing on the cake with the cherry on
Yeah,
top.
it's like a win-win. Like we're still talking to each other. I don't know if he likes me, but that's okay. We're not mad at each other.
It's all right. They might not like you, but they do love you. So. Kuri, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show and speaking about your story. And so I just want to say, I know you're very busy, especially with such regimented schedules with your life, but thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really like talking with you. You
Uh,
have great questions, and with the parallel lives we lead, it's just been really fun. So I hope we could do it again, down the road sometime.
oh, absolutely. So, Kuri Yasuno, for joining the show and telling us your processes of being the parent of an autistic person, the processes of becoming an author, and also for helping to spread autism awareness. Those are a few of the many reasons why I think you, Kuri Yasuno, have big DK energy. Awesome. Well, folks, we're going to put all of her links in the description box below, including the link to go buy her book. And Kuri, is there anything else that you want to say or promote before we head out?
Nope. I usually live in the world of Instagram. So if you want to know more about me or reach out and talk to me about anything that we talked about, reach me there at my name, at Kuri Yasuno.
Excellent.
At Instagram.com.
Okay. Well, if that's all said and done, I'm Danny K, the Big DK Energy Podcast, and we are signing off.